Good morning. Happy hump day. I am just trying to get situated here. I am sitting outside Mother's. I just tried to do a live a second ago and it didn't do anything. So hopefully it's working now. Who knows? It's funny. But hey, Michelle. So I'm sitting outside Mother's in my office like usual. Getting ready to go into Mother's to grab some immune blockers because I am so congested. Good morning, Chris. So Des Daily Dose, day 3. Today we are going to talk about, hey Dennis, we're going to talk about loss of a parent. Unfortunately, I've had to deal with a lot of loss in my life, and one of the hugest things that I've learned from it is no matter the situation or the hard times or the trials or anything like that you've been through, it cannot set you back from your future. So I lost my mom to cancer when I was 16, and if you guys have been following me for a while, you would probably heard my story about kind of how I got into the health and fitness industry and things like that. But oh my gosh, my mom and I, we used to be so tight. So a little background story. My parents got divorced when I was 3. So I did the whole going back and forth to Dad's house every other weekend and lived with my mom for the majority of the time. And, her and I were close. We did a lot of things together. Almost like how I had Chris on yesterday and she talked about sending her daughter off to college and how that was huge for her. Hi, Brittany. Hey, Chris. That was a huge emotional part of what she's been going through. And I can totally see that because I feel like I was my mom was my best friend. And we used to go shopping together. We'd go to Disneyland together. I was in baton twirling for a really long time, from 6th grade to, I think I was a sophomore or junior in high school. Good morning, Julie. Hey, Edward. And so I used to have to do parades. So baton twirling was not part of the schools or anything. It was just an outside type of activity. And so I got really good at it. I started at the beginner, moved all the way to the top. And so we used to do parades all the time, all over Southern California. So if you think of a Christmas parade, in your local town, that's kind of where we would be doing baton twirling, a whole bunch of us marching down the street to music, spinning and twirling our baton. So she was always into that. Hey Michael, hey Sarah, hey Marisol, thanks for watching. So we were just tight. I mean, when she got sick, and that was something that was super unexpected, at least for me. I was 15 years old. And I remember one day I was going to school and said my normal goodbyes to her. I was going to go to school, and she was going to be off to work with my stepdad. Good morning, Betty. Hey, Sarah. And saying goodbye and that I loved her. And that was really kind of the last time that her and I had that actual communication. I'm going to try not to get emotional. But on her way to work, her and my stepdad used to carpool. Hey, Carla and Amy. She just started freaking out. So they would drive, if you're anywhere from Southern California, they would drive from Corona all the way to Anaheim. So that's god-awful traffic, at least an hour drive one way to get to their jobs. And on the way there, luckily my stepdad was driving. She just started freaking out, talking about stuff that just didn't make sense, talking about her passed away dad, just not completely making any sense. And she started to vomit in the car, and my dad didn't have any idea what was going on. And so she actually started to have a seizure at that point. Hey, Angelica. So they had just passed a hospital luckily there was a big Kaiser hospital like on their route, and so he turned around, went there, and took an emergency. Hey Courtney, I know, Dennis, it is tough. And so I was at school, and a few days after this date, me, my mom, my grandma were actually supposed to go on a trip to Chicago to see my family, because that's where my mom's from. My mom whole side's from Illinois. And she had this happen, and so I got a call saying, like, when I was at school, the office called me and said, like, your aunt is here to pick you up. And so I was like, that's weird. I'm like, I can't miss any more school because I'm going to be gone for like a week when I go to Chicago. And so I thought it was really strange. So then I walk up to the office, and I see my aunt there, walk out. Good morning, Beth. And yeah, Dennis, I had a bad 3-year period as well with family stuff. I walk out, I see my aunt, and she's like, it's your mom. She is having emergency brain surgery. Something happened on the way to work. We need to go right now to the hospital to see if you can see her before she... Sorry. Before she has this surgery. And so we got there in time. Hey, Nate. And you guys, this is a really long time ago, and it just tells you this is why I do what I do, is because of this particular reason. And I walk into the room where she is before they're wheeling her out, and her head was completely shaved. And then that's when everything just became completely real. They found brain tumors, which was causing her behavior. And once I had realized, oh my gosh, she had brain tumors, I had remembered, for the few days before that, how tired she was. She'd always be laying down. She had headaches. And, they wheeled her out, right after I got there into brain surgery. I remember waiting all day. She had 2 huge tumors, the one the size of an orange and one the size of a golf ball. They could only get one out because one was deep in her brainstem. So, but that day was the last day that I really said, and had a conversation with my mom. Because after that, so she survived the surgery. Thanks, Brittany. She survived the surgery, and but she was never the same. They gave her 6 months, even with chemo and radiation. And sorry. That morning was the last time, because she was never the same. She called us mom. She called my dog mom. She wouldn't eat. She couldn't take care of herself. She'd pace when she was able to. So when she had that seizure, it paralyzed her left side. So she had to learn how to do all that stuff over again. And she finally did, but she never really had full use of her left arm and left hand. But she had to have 24-hour care. And, when I'm 15 and my dad has to go to work, and, he took her to my grandmother's house because my grandma was an RN. So she would basically care for her in the day and then work her graveyard shift at the hospital. And I still went to school, but I didn't have anybody, when I was going to school. They left me at the house because, like I said, remember that big long distance of driving for them to go to work? Well, my grandma actually lived in Anaheim, so my dad just started to stay there during the week because it just became too much to drive my mom back and forth with all that traffic. And so I would be at home by myself Monday through Friday, 15 years old, just taking care of myself. And I'm going to say I was a pretty good kid because I still went to school for the majority of the time. I still had passing grades, except I think for 1 year, one class in that year actually got an F and I failed it. But I was a good kid. I I did my work and I did the honor roll and all those other things. I wasn't intentionally trying to be awful or to make those circumstances change like what I really wanted out of life. And I think at that point I didn't even really know. But that was just a really hard period that just led up to a whole bunch of other things, tragedies that had happened in my life. And we'll hit those on another daily dose. But you know, I'm doing the things that I do because of that, because I know that good nutrition and flooding your body and things like that are they're not going to save us. But you know what? If they're going to make us and our family around a lot longer, then you bet I'm going to do it. This is why when I hear people have so many broken relationships with their parents, nothing in the world, if God forbid something like this happened to your parent, you wouldn't be able to live with yourself. So in the conclusion to this, in my sobby whining story, I just want to say that no matter any loss that you've had, don't let that hold you back from something greater. I believe in something so much more powerful, and that there is something much greater than this life here on earth. I mean, there's so much bad stuff going on here, you know, on the planet, bad people, you know, and I just want to say that don't ever give up on who you really are and who you want to be because of the things that happen to you or because of the feelings that you have inside. Because it really isn't a way to live, and you can't let those things control you, because if they do, they are going to ruin you, and that is just not going to make for a life that is going to be filled with joy and positivity, and then people aren't going to want to be around you. So get out there, be the best that you possibly can be, work on yourself, work on growth, know that this is just not the end. There are greater things in store for you, and you can do anything that you possibly put your mind to. So much love to you guys today on this hump day. Thank you for tuning in. Try not to have too many sob stories for you, and a lot more positivity. But just another thing you have no idea what people are going through or the things that they've gone through in their life. So don't ever judge people and think like, oh, they have this great life, because that's honestly not the case. You don't know what they're feeling inside. So you guys have an awesome day. Thank you, Julie. Thanks, Dennis. Hey, Beth. And I'll be thinking about you guys and praying for you always. Take care and have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.